Welcome to the Privacy Report. If you're listening right now, you're likely interacting with the world through a single pane of glass, your web browser. It's the central hub for everything, your work, your finances, your social life. And because of that centrality, it's become the primary target for malicious attacks, for malware, and for data theft. Today, we're discussing the absolute necessity of a modern, aggressive layer of defense called sandboxing.
Exactly. We're moving past that age where, simple antivirus software was enough. The perimeter of your security is no longer the firewall between your home and the internet. The perimeter is now inside the browser window itself. Our mission today is to help you understand precisely why those traditional defenses are routinely failing against modern attacks and how this isolation technology, sandboxing, is rapidly becoming mandatory if you want secure browsing.
Before we dig in, just a quick reminder that you can subscribe to our email newsletter for more detailed insights and updates on everything we discuss, including the specific tools we'll be mentioning. You can find that at theprivacyreport.net. Okay, let's unpack this shift. For years, people felt, I think, relatively secure with a good antivirus and maybe an ad blocker. But now all the analysis confirms those tools are just insufficient. Why are these older traditional tools being bypassed? What changed?
It's the sophistication and the location. Malware doesn't need to be some large, suspicious, executable file anymore. The threats have essentially gone native right inside the browser environment. What we see now are these sophisticated methods like, say, drive-by downloads, where just visiting a compromised site can start a download without you even clicking anything.
Right, or tiny, hyper-efficient scripts hidden deep inside banner ads.
Exactly, and the most terrifying one.
The zero-day exploit.
The 0-day.
Yeah. Modern attackers live for exploiting browser zero days. And for our listeners who might not know that term, a 0-day means the software vendor has had literally 0 days to patch the flaw.
It's an unknown live vulnerability.
It's live, and attackers are actively using it right now. And if that exploit successfully lands in the browser, traditional defense is often just. They fail to stop it from compromising the underlying operating system, the OS.
And this is where it gets really compelling because the risk isn't just technical anymore, is it? It's shifted socially, too.
What's fascinating here is how the world of work just completely changed the security profile of the average home computer. The permanent shift to work-from-home setups has dramatically changed who is exposed to corporate-level risks. Investigations have shown how quickly modern malware designed to steal credentials or sensitive documents just spreads through what looks like everyday browsing.
It's benign browsing.
So risks that were once limited only to, heavily secured corporate networks with IT monitoring and all that are now sitting right next to your family photos and your personal banking info.
Which means your personal security stack has to be stronger and way more proactive than it's ever been.
It has to assume the browser's going to fail.
Exactly. And that brings us to the countermeasure. Sandboxing. Sandboxing is this concept of building what we call a digital moat. It's the creation of a strictly controlled environment, a container where browser exploits and trackers and malicious downloads have severely limited ability to escape and interact with the sensitive parts of your system.
That analogy of the moat is perfect. But let's look under the hood. Functionally, how does this moat actually work?
At its core, sandboxing enforces separation. It separates the browser from the core system files, from processes, from privileges. So instead of the browser running with full access to your hard drive, your registry, and everything else,
It operates inside a box.
it operates inside a restricted container with these sharply defined boundaries. If malicious code attempts to run, it's limited to that container instead of reaching your actual personal files.
So it's not just a warning system, it's a structural cage. Walk us through the isolation process step by step for someone trying to visualize this on their own machine.
Right. So the process is, it's precise and methodical. Step 1. The sandboxing tool creates a restricted environment.
Like a temporary virtual workspace.
Exactly, a temporary segregated workspace with severely limited permissions. Then step 2, your browser launches inside this environment. It does not launch directly into your regular, fully privileged operating system.
And here's the crucial part, right? Any files you download or scripts that try to execute code, they're strictly confined to those temporary sandbox directories. So to be clear, if I accidentally download a malicious PDF, it can't just navigate to my actual documents folder and start encrypting files?
Absolutely not. That's the brilliance of the containment. The potential exploits are trapped. They hit a wall because the sandbox strips the browser of the privileges it needs to do real damage. They can't access system files, alter critical registry entries, or spy on other running applications like your password manager.
So the malware is essentially blind and neutered inside the box.
Precisely. And this leads to the most critical step for cleanup. When the browsing session ends, or when you manually reset the sandbox, all that temporary activity, every script, every file, any malicious artifact is automatically and instantly wiped clean.
It's a clean slate every single time.
Every time.
That is the feature that really changes the game. It fundamentally alters the whole post-attack cleanup process. The key features connect directly to security then. You have restricted permissions, limiting access, a separate file system preventing system changes, and this resettable environment that basically deletes the crime scene every time.
And we should mention, for those handling truly risky browsing, there are optional virtualization layers.
For deeper containment.
Much deeper. Instead of just isolating the browser process, these tools can isolate it at the hardware level, offering maximum security in high-risk scenarios. This isolation is probably the single most important defense for protecting your data.
Okay, so we've seen the mechanics, but for a listener trying to secure their own machine, the next hurdle is picking the right defense. What separates a true isolation tool from, a weak imitation?
Well, zooming out for a second, effectiveness really depends on the technical depth of the isolation. A superficial container is easy for an attacker to bypass. You should prioritize tools that show evidence of robust kernel-level protections.
Okay, why is operating at that kernel level so important? Doesn't that make it slower? We're talking about the deepest part of the OS, right?
Yes. The kernel is the absolute core component, and a tool with kernel-level protection can enforce those boundaries at the most fundamental level, which makes it extremely difficult for an attacker to escalate privileges or use an OS flaw to jump the boundary.
And the performance hit.
Historically, it could introduce overhead, but modern implementations are highly efficient. We also look for transparency, reproducible resets, and whether the sandbox clears sessions by default. Secure defaults are key.
Can you give us some concrete examples of reliable tools that meet these standards? For different platforms, maybe.
Certainly. For Windows users, Sandboxing Plus is highly recommended. It's lightweight, it's mature, and it offers really strong per-application isolation. You can run more than just your browser in it.
And for Linux.
On Linux, FireJail is powerful. It uses namespace-based sandboxing, which is a standard, highly effective Linux system mechanism for this kind of isolation.
And then there are those enterprise-grade solutions you mentioned, the ones taking this to an extreme.
Exactly. For those who need, let's say, government-level isolation, you have solutions like Bromium Secure Platform, which is often marketed as HP SureClick Enterprise. It uses micro-virtualization.
Micro-virtualization.
Yeah, it doesn't just isolate the browser, it isolates each individual browser tab in its own temporary virtual machine. So every time you click a new link, it could be launching a completely fresh, isolated environment that just self-destructs when you close the tab. It makes it virtually impossible for malicious code to persist or escape.
That sounds incredibly comprehensive. But let's get into the practical trade-offs. If performance is near native, as you said, does that mean the sandboxing layer is actually weak? Where's the trade-off?
That's a great question. Historically, isolation meant significant lag. But today, thanks to advances in CPU virtualization features, the overhead is minimal. A minor slowdown most people won't even notice. The trade-off isn't really in security effectiveness, but sometimes in user convenience.
How so?
Well, for example, some sandboxes aggressively clear settings or cookies, forcing you to log in repeatedly. It's a minor annoyance, but a major security benefit. The security comes from restricting access, not by being slow.
We touched on mobile devices earlier. Do mobile browsers use sandboxing, or is that primarily a desktop thing?
Oh, it's universal. And in many ways, mobile platforms pioneered this. Both iOS and Android rely heavily on strict sandboxing to isolate every single app by default, including their browsers.
So every app is in its own silo.
Exactly. It prevents WhatsApp from accessing your banking app's data, for instance. That underlying architecture is a major reason why mobile security is often inherently stronger than desktop systems without these added layers.
Okay, and finally, the classic confusion point. Is running my browser in a sandbox enough to replace my antivirus suite?
Absolutely not. This is a containment strategy, not a full security suite. Sandboxing stops the malware from escaping into your OS. It contains the blast radius.
Right.
But it doesn't necessarily detect or clean up existing issues on your system. You need both. Robust detection from your antivirus and aggressive containment from the sandbox. They work together.
What about flexibility? Some people might not want to sandbox everything. Are there tools that let you isolate only the untrusted sites?
Yes, and this is becoming a popular enterprise solution. Some tools, like Windows Defender Application Guard, are designed to let you run your regular trusted sites normally while automatically creating an isolated container only when you click a suspicious link.
So a link from an external email, maybe?
Exactly, or an unknown domain. It's a very smart use of resources.
This raises a really important question about the integrity of the moat itself. If the threats are so sophisticated, can malware still escape a sandbox?
Escapes are rare, and they require immense skill, but they are absolutely possible. This is where the zero-day concept comes back into play. If the browser, or critically, the operating system's sandboxing mechanism itself, has an unpatched vulnerability, a sandbox escape vulnerability,
The moat has a hole in it.
the moat has a hole. A sophisticated attacker can use that zero-day to jump the boundaries and gain control. And this just reinforces the need for constant, diligent updates to both your OS and the sandboxing tool itself. If you're running outdated software, your moat has weak points.
So, to summarize, sandboxing is a critical defense that traps danger, keeping it contained even when the browser itself has been successfully exploited. It's the key to minimizing the blast radius of any attack and making sure a malicious script stays confined to a temporary box that gets instantly deleted. Our call to action for you is simple. Choose one sandboxing tool we discussed today, whether it's Sandboxing Plus for Windows or FireJail for Linux, and commit to running your primary browser inside it this week. See what a difference that containment layer makes.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, sandboxing represents a fundamental shift in our security philosophy. Instead of just hoping the browser code is flawless, which, history has proven is an impossibility,
Right.
we're now building security systems that assume failure. We are abandoning the hope of perfect integrity and instead forcing ourselves to rely on the environment's boundaries. Think about how that changes your fundamental trust model when you're browsing the web. You're no longer trusting the website, you're trusting the container.
A truly profound thought to leave us with. Thank you for tuning in to this discussion on digital security here on the Privacy Report. We hope this conversation helps you build a more secure digital life. Remember to like and subscribe wherever you get your audio. This segment was made with the assistance of AI.